Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk, brought to you by Hardball Sports Media. My name is Brandon, and joining me is Alex. This is not a normal episode. Normally, we only go on Thursdays, but it's Friday night at 9 p.m., excuse me, and a lot has happened in the world of sports since we last recorded. So we decided, you know what, let's jump on and let's talk about what's going on. So Alex, how are you today?
Good, Brandon. How about yourself?
It's going. Busy day with sports. Actually, busy last couple days.
I'd say the
So it's
last
been a
few
fun time for
days.
us.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a lot that's happened since we've talked last, and it's only been
Yeah,
like what, 2 days?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The episode came out at noon yesterday, and here we are at 9 o'clock Friday night and recording again because that much happened where we can get a full episode in. A couple changes for you guys for you guys to be aware of. We're working on the software for this. We haven't found exactly what we want. So we are trying this one for this today. And a little bit of editing I've done with it so far. I seem to like this one more than what we used the other day. And it's also friendlier on the wallet, and we like that. And
cheapskate.
then, yeah, thank you. As you know, we can talk about that in a minute. We can talk about how cheapskate I am and how I don't donate the penny. Uh,
Oh,
anyways, anyways, we'll talk
I
about that
totally
in a
forgot
second.
about that.
It happened again recently, actually.
Oh, of course it did. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Cheapskate.
I'll explain to you guys that one in a second. But anyways, a few of you have texted me and called me saying that um, you've enjoyed the podcast with Alex on it, and I appreciate that. I think the quality of just what we're talking about is a lot better, just because it feels like more of a natural conversation than reading a script. Even though I never read a script,
Do you know
but
any of the
I,
words on the script?
no, I don't know how to read, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know
But
some
yeah,
words.
yeah, like seven. Anyways,
Okay.
so one thing that we did, we both ordered microphones. We both just hit order them on Amazon in the last couple hours. So hopefully by Wednesday we'll both have them in. Mine, I live not anywhere near an Amazon warehouse, so I have to wait. But somebody lives like an hour away from one and gets his tomorrow. So for sure Alex will be mic'd up better next week, and hopefully me. My mail is weird, where Amazon says it'll get delivered on one day, but it actually gets here the day before. So it says Friday, and with Thanksgiving being next Thursday, I'm really hoping I get it Wednesday. But here in the near future, we will have new microphones, and that'll help out with uh, the audio too. And then back to this cheapskate thing. So where were we? Was that at the
We
wedding?
were, yeah, I think it was right
Yeah,
before your wedding.
yeah, so I got married in June. I think I've talked about this on the podcast a little bit. I've got married in June, and Alex was one of my groomsmen in the wedding, and we went to the store to buy lunch for us and the bridesmaids and the bride. And the cashier, our total was like 1993 or whatever. I don't know what it was. And the cashier goes, "Do you want to round up for charity?" And I go, "No." And my lovely groomsmen are like, "Wow, you cheapskate." And
Such a
then
cheapskate.
yeah, just such a cheapskate. And to make matters worse, one of my groomsmen, hey, there's a cat. One of my groomsmen wanted to buy his own thing, even though I offered to buy everybody everything, and he bought whatever. And the cashier goes, "Hey, do you want to round up?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm not Brandon. I'm not a cheapskate. So I'll round up."
Yeah.
So that's the round up story. And I'm or Brandon being a cheapskate story is I didn't round up for charity because I don't
You
think
don't
any of
like
this
charity.
money's. Well, no, I like charity. I just don't think that money ever goes to the charity.
You don't know that.
You
You're too
don't know
cheap
it
to find
does.
out. You're too cheap to find out.
Well, that's probably the truth, but I don't think it ever does. So that's the cheapskate story, and I was at Walmart recently too, and my total was like 19.99 or whatever, and it goes, "Do you want to round up to the nearest dollar?" And I'm like, "No, I don't."
Nope. He's not gonna do that, guys. I'm telling you. This guy's as cheap
Not
as
it.
they come.
Yep. So So with all that being said, me being a cheapskate, hey, this is a great transition. You'll love this one.
All
When you
right.
think of cheap owners in the world of sports, you think of the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, you like this, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Historically, the Bengals have been a rather cheap franchise. I don't know if they fixed this or not, but for example, they didn't have an indoor practice facility for the longest time, and they still might not. I don't know. But historically speaking, their owner has been on the cheaper side of things. And the reason that's relevant to anything is Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow. Uh, we believe he tore some ligaments in his wrist and is out for the rest of the season,
His throwing
making
hand.
him his throwing hand. Yes. Uh, so if you believe that Aaron Rodgers is out for the season, which he had tore his Achilles in Week 1, Joe Burrow is the sixth quarterback so far this season to have a season-ending injury. And we're both Lions fans. Thankfully, this bug hasn't hit the Lions, but Lions are one of those few teams that they actually have a plan at backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And the Bengals are not on that list of teams.
Nope.
Uh, no. Uh, do you know the guy's name? The backups. I forgot to look that up when we were doing all this research here.
Yeah, he's Jake Browning. I believe he went to Washington.
Okay, so you get Jake Browning, who is a young quarterback, and I did watch a little bit of the game last night and listen to it, and they said that he has not started an NFL game before. So it's just not a good situation here in Cincinnati. Entering the week, or this past week, I should say, week 10, all four teams in the AFC North were in the playoff picture. Like if the playoffs started after last week, all four teams in the AFC North would be in the playoffs.
That is
Since
nuts.
Sunday, yeah, well, since Sunday, two of the starting quarterbacks in that division are out for the year now, with Deshaun Watson and now Joe Burrow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
So
Watson.
yeah, so now you went from this division being very possibly having all four teams because Cleveland's defense, we talked about this a little bit on the podcast on Wednesday. Jim Schwartz, former Lions head coach, he's got that unit playing really good football right now. And all you just need is a competent offense, and that team's going to the playoffs. But without Deshaun Watson, how much of a competent offense are you going to have? We'll find out Sunday because Deshaun Watson's out. With Cincinnati, we saw it early on in the season when Joe Burrow was injured with his calf. They were struggling. They started out like 1-3, 0-4, something like that, and now they were getting this turnaround, but now they are they got themselves back in the playoff hunt, and now they are out for the year basically because Joe Burrow is injured, and this team only goes as far as Burrow's going to take them, and Burrow's not there anymore. One thing about this injury that I personally wanted to say. Now, I understand injuries are part of football, so like anything can happen. But this goes back to me to the night that they drafted Jamar Chase. Now, Jamar Chase, great wide receiver. Like you can't go wrong with that pick. And
No.
somehow they did. When you have Penei Sewell on the board, and there's another tackle that I can't remember his name, but there's another tackle that's had a pretty good start to his career too. Like you wonder if they want to go back in time and I dare I say it, not take Jamar Chase, just because your quarterback now is out for the season. Yeah, you can throw it. The way I see it is, you can throw it to Jamar Chase, but you don't have time to throw it to Jamar Chase because you're running for your life half the time. And
Yeah,
Burrow has. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying, if you go back to their Super Bowl run against the Rams, I think that would have been Chase's rookie year,
Yeah, that was the
maybe.
rookie year. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they had the ball under, driving down the field under 2 minutes, and I mean, yeah, you're facing Aaron Donald, which is probably one of the greatest defensive tackles that we've seen play. Um, just that whole Bengals offensive line was bad. I mean, look up the stats for him, and I think Burrow got hit so many times or pressured, as they call it, hits, sacked. But if you actually look at that play, I think it was a fourth down play. Um, I think Ramsey was covering Chase. Well, Ramsey fell down. Chase was wide open, probably going to score because no one else was near him. But again,
Yep.
the offensive line didn't hold up. Where if you're right, I guess they draft Penny Sewell, then Chase wouldn't be there. But Sewell gives you a better
But
chance to find an open receiver like that and potentially score a touchdown and tie it, win the Super Bowl, whatever the case was.
and again, we're not taking anything away from Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is an exceptional receiver, and you can't argue with the pick because it was the right pick. But at the same time, just looking at Joe Burrow's injury career so far, you wonder how healthy he would be if he had a competent offensive line, which is something he hasn't had. But they took Chase. Lions got Penei Sewell, who didn't allow a sack last Sunday against the Chargers, who have one of the Bosa brothers and Khalil Mack. So Lions are winning off this one, and I think both teams are relatively happy with how it turned out, even though, again, you think the Bengals would want to go offensive tackle there. But that's just my 2 cents on that. Um, we both tried to find names of quarterbacks the Bengals could go after. That's slim pickings right now in the league, though. Um, really, the only name that was somewhat familiar to me that I would even think about is really Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, and possibly Colt McCoy. But again, and the talking heads on ESPN and Fox and all the other big networks, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Brady's coming out of retirement with this offensive line.
No.
Just gonna throw that one out there. So that one doesn't make any sense. And Matt Ryan, I don't think he's gonna come out of retirement either. And he wasn't that great with the Colts his last year, anyways. So,
Mm-mm.
but it is what it is. Um, obviously, we hope Joe Burrow the best of luck and hope he gets well soon because the game is better with Joe Burrow on the field.
Mm.
Um,
He's fun to watch. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
he is fun to watch. Yeah. I have nothing against the guy. He's one of the
Mm-mm.
smarter people in the league for leaving Ohio State, if you ask me. You know what's funny though is we have a friend that's an Ohio State fan. He's a listener to the show, and so he'll get a crack that we're talking about him. But he reminds me all the time that Joe Burrow is is Ohio State quarterback, and I'm like, no, he's not. He went to LSU.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Burrow himself even said, no, I went to class at Ohio State, but I played football at LSU.
Yeah. It also goes
So
back to uh the Spartan fans claiming Nick Foles as their quarterback. No, Nick Foles transferred out, went to Arizona. He was a Wildcat at Arizona, and then he went to the pros and surprisingly won the Super Bowl over Tom Brady, which is hilarious. But
I forgot that Foles went to Sparty.
yeah, he
Only
was with
Sparty
I think he
quarterback
was with
ever.
Kirk Cousins and whoever was starting before Cousins or after Cousins. Anyways,
Say that'd be Cook.
yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah. Anyways, so like we said, Joe Burrow out for the season. Uh, and like we also said, 6 NFL quarterback to be out for the season, assuming Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, which you never know with that. Um, time will tell on that one.
Pop
Another big
quiz.
injury in this. Yeah,
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt. Pop quiz.
no.
Did you? Unless you already looked them up. Besides Aaron Rodgers and Burrow, who were the remaining quarterbacks? I don't know, so I was just testing your
For
knowledge right now.
that are injured
For
for
the
the year.
season. Yeah.
So we got Deshaun Watson. Obviously, like you said, Rodgers
Mm-hmm.
and Burrow. You got Anthony Richardson with the Colts.
Ooh, I forgot about him. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, who are the other two? Man, I saw this stat too. I should have looked this one up.
I was
Let me
just
Google it
testing your
real quick.
knowledge.
No, let me Google it
Cheater.
real quick because, well, no, but it's good for the podcast. So
Let's see. Don't tell me. I want to see if I can think of him real quick. Going through the divisions.
that's what I was thinking in my head going through the division.
Derek
But
Carr, was he one of them? Is he up for the season?
I don't think he is.
I thought he got injured and
He might be.
separated shoulder or something.
I'll Google him. And then I saw it on Facebook, I'm pretty sure.
That's a reliable source.
Well, it was it was ESPN though,
Oh,
which I
okay.
guess is also a reliable source. So
Yeah. Oh, got it. I already know it. He's in our division.
oh yeah, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So who is missing? That's 5.
So we got So we got Cousins, Rogers, potentially Rogers, Watson, Burrow. Did we
Richardson.
determine? Did you see Richardson and then Derek Carr? Right? Is that the 6th?
I'm trying to find that post. It wasn't ESPN. What was it?
This is great for
We'll
the
get back to you guys
podcast,
on
if you
that
ask
one.
me.
Yeah, this is.
Nothing but dead air. That's always good for a podcast, right?
Well, we're not doing dead air. We're just like basically saying nothing right now. We're just talking.
Yeah. Do I have to find it for you?
I'm working on it.
All right. All right. Well, while you're looking that up, we can I can segue into the other side of
The next one.
last
Yeah.
night's game. Mark Andrews. He's determined he's out for the season. Was it his knee or ankle? So
I
I watched it
believe it's his
live.
ankle.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I actually watched it. Both of these injuries happened last night, and I was watching them both live. And uh, Andrews was taken out by what they call a drop tackle, which there's been talks of getting rid of that. And I'm not a fan of that.
No, and you got at some point football is a contact
It is a
sport.
contact
Now
sport.
I'm I'm all for player safety, don't get me wrong. But
Yes, yes.
like, like we don't need these helmet to helmet shots or anything like that. But
No,
you're
no.
gonna get hurt your leg because if you take away the helmet shot, which I'm all for, you can't also take away the leg. I guess they did take away the legs
Yeah,
too. But it wasn't like he
yeah.
was diving after his legs. I think he just grabbed
No,
on
I
and
mean, yeah, it grabbed on, and it's football, full speed. Your feet are getting entangled, and next thing you know, his ankle's under the defender's body, and I watched him go down, and as soon as he grabbed him, like that's not good. He's going to be out for a little bit.
yeah.
Didn't know how
By the
serious
way,
it was.
the sixth quarterback is Daniel Jones.
Danny Dimes, baby.
That's
I
why we
forgot.
couldn't remember because
Yeah. Who?
exactly.
I love it. I love it. All right.
Yeah,
Back
he
to
tore his ACL right after he came back with the neck injury. So,
that's right.
but anyways, back to Baltimore with
Yes.
Mark Andrews here.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Like Alex said, Mark Andrews most likely done for the year. Big blow for Baltimore, especially they've been playing some really good football as of late. They had that hiccup against Cleveland, but outside of that, they've been playing really good football. They've been playing like a Super Bowl favorite, and I think they still are in the conversation. Um, just because there's really not one team that's super dominant. Like Kansas City, for example, outside of Kelsey, if Kelsey goes down, that you know yeah, you have Patrick Mahomes, but who's he going to throw to? Nobody stepped up so far. Or with
Right.
San Francisco might be the best team right now, especially now that Trent Williams is back healthy. We talked about that on the podcast the other day.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and then Philly, they got a new OC and a new DC, and it's been a now they've been winning, but it hasn't been pretty. So there's really not one dominant team, unless you want to say San Francisco. But we've also seen San Francisco in the playoffs the last how many years? Unless they're playing the Packers, they seem to choke. And I don't see the Packers in the playoffs this year. But so it is a tough blow for Baltimore. OBJ had a big game for them last night. He was, I forgot he played for Baltimore actually before that.
Same here.
And I'm sure a lot of people did actually. And then before we started recording, we were talking about the play that Burrow got hurt on.
Mm.
Jadeveon Clowney plays for the Ravens, and he wears like number 24 or something like that, which
I
is,
think it's great,
yeah,
honestly.
it's
It's great
hilarious.
for the sport.
I know Tom Brady didn't like it when they changed to that because he's like, well, how the heck am I supposed to know who to like tell my lineman to guard?
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, 90s was defensive linemen, 50s was linebackers, and so on. But anyways, so the Ravens, as long as you got Lamar, I guess, and a couple weapons from to throw to like OBJ, I think they'll be okay. Now the division got a lot easier also without Watson and Burrow, but you still got the Steelers. And the Steelers, like we said the other day, they're that one team that they keep winning. You don't know how.
Yeah.
They're 6-3 in the season, but they've been outgained every game. So
I was gonna say, isn't there all the 9 games, 10 games, whatever it is, that they've been outgained?
yeah, they've been outgained every year of the game this so far this year.
That is
And
just nuts. And they're 6-3, and
yeah,
probably was the toughest division, but probably, like you said, got a little bit easier now.
yeah. And in fact, I don't know if I said this in the podcast, but I'm pretty sure it was before we started recording. I said this up until last week. So basically, at the start of at the end of week 10, all four teams in the AFC North were in a playoff spot, which is crazy to say this late into a season. Now, I guess I don't know. There was a chance. Now, obviously, I don't think Cincinnati gets in the playoffs now.
Mm-mm.
I
Not with
think
Burrow
Joe
gone.
Burrow is the heart and soul of that team.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think Baltimore should be good to go. Pittsburgh, they keep winning
Yeah.
somehow.
Somehow.
Someday that's going to catch up to them, you would think, but it hasn't yet. So until they lose, they're in the playoffs in my world. So
Mm-hmm.
and then Cleveland, again, elite defense, and they just need competent quarterback play. So can you get competent quarterback play out of I don't know who's there right now. We'll see. But time will tell on that one. But again, this is a big injury for Baltimore. But with Watson and Burrow out for the season for both the Browns and Bengals, respectively, uh, it's an easier blow for Baltimore than it could be with everything else going on. And it's just next man up. When a tight end goes down for whatever reason, we don't run to the tight end free agency and see who's available. But we do that for quarterbacks because it's a quarterback league.
It's quarterback league, man.
Yeah, it's a quarterback league. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jim Harbaugh, who played quarterback in the NFL, look at these transitions here.
Nice
Uh, he
segue.
ex- yeah, it's beautiful. He has decided to honor the 3 game suspension that the Big Ten gave him last week. We didn't talk about this on the podcast because normally I record on Wednesday, and a lot of this college football stuff happens on Friday and Saturdays when a lot of the games are. So I don't really get a whole lot in the college football discussion just because it's way past the time I'm recording, and I don't know what games to preview because there's 140 college football teams. So
Hey, it's great, man.
it is. But with Alex in the podcast now, Alex is a big Michigan fan, so I would like to do more college football. How much more, we'll see. But I do want that to be part of the show, and I'm sure he would agree with me on that one. But this is big news. Harbaugh accepting the suspension. When the suspension went down last week, it happened at what, like 2:45 last Friday was when it was
Yeah,
announced, something like
it
that.
was
Uh,
announced while the team was flying to Penn State.
yeah,
And there were reports that I think the players even came out and said it, including the assistant coaches and the AD. I believe the AD came out and said this too, that the NCAA announced it over social media, and that is the way. That's how the whole Michigan team, um, coaches and all. That's how they found out that Harbaugh would not be on the sidelines is through social media. Um, yeah, that's that's the NCAA for you. That's my 2 cents.
yep. My wife, who is not a sports person at all, she likes hockey, so we got that going for us.
Hey,
She
that's
likes
great for
hockey,
you.
yeah,
Yes.
that's the important one.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't know much about any other sport, and she doesn't know much about hockey, but she enjoys hockey, so we got her good. Anyways, I told her about what was going on with Harbaugh's suspension last Friday when it all went down, and her analogy she gave me was spot on. I told her, I said, well, basically, the Big Ten suspended Harbaugh while he was in an airplane traveling, so he couldn't out about it until they landed. And they did it on a holiday weekend because
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
Veterans
forgot
Day was
about that.
Saturday. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Veterans Day was Saturday. So even if the Michigan wanted to do anything, they couldn't because the judges were all off that day. And her reaction was, it sounds like a teenage girl breaking up with her boyfriend over a text message while he's at work.
That is a great analogy.
I
Uh,
that was beautiful. And our friend that's an Ohio State fan, I texted him and I texted you that one, and both of you
mm-hmm.
were like that. Both of you were like, we
It,
couldn't describe that any better.
I mean, I don't know how I couldn't have said it any better.
No. So interesting times here for Michigan. And
Mm-hmm.
then also today, Michigan fired was it a linebackers coach?
Yeah, I believe linebackers coach. Yeah, Chris Partridge, I think was his name.
Yeah. And interesting here is the reports I was seeing was he was trying to basically destroy evidence for the sign stealing
Now,
scandal going on here.
I did see that too, and then I think I saw afterwards that he was I have to look it up here. I think that was the initial report, and I thought there was something after that.
I mean, I think it does have to do something with something like that because the team is what 11-0 right now or 10-0.
Mm-hmm.
The defense has been playing pretty darn good football. Now, granted, we're both Michigan fans, but we're also both smart enough to realize outside of Penn State, Michigan really hasn't played the highest of quality of opponents. Some of that is the non-conference schedule. Some of that is just the Big Ten outside of Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State is just really soft. So, but
Yeah.
when you're 10-0 and your defense is playing at a high level, it's just odd to fire an assistant coach this late in the season, especially on the
Um,
defense.
I have the
That's why I would assume it's something to do with the scandal.
yeah, it's actually part of the investigation. And I'm reading this from Pete Thamel. He reported that Partridge was fired. But it also says per Pete Thamel, per ESPN source, from Michigan, basically, and Partridge was having conversations within the program to staff and students and players. And during any NCAA investigation, which we don't need to talk about the NCAA and how crappy they are. Basically, you're
No.
not allowed to talk about any investigation going on inside your program to anyone, but they can come out and talk about it, release whatever they want, but you're not allowed to respond to it or talk about it. So basically, he was talking about it. It sounds like within the school, um, and I
Okay.
believe I heard on a local radio here that some verbiage in the coach's contracts and assistant contracts, basically saying if they're this was from what I was understanding, any type of talk during any investigation about the investigation, I should say, is a fireable offense or will
Okay.
be fired. So that's what I've heard and saw today. So obviously something had to be done if you're
Yeah.
going against the rules. And
Yeah.
my two thoughts about this, like you said, I'm a big Michigan fan. Um, Something truly did happen, which there's obviously something did happen. Um, that Michigan should be punished as much as it kills me to say. Um, I
Are you
know.
okay over there?
No, I'm not. This is hard for me to talk about. Um, but if they did something, they knew about it, whatever, yeah, they should be punished. But just like in real life, let them due process. I get you trying to be make an example out of them, I guess, being the first time commissioner for the Big Ten commissioner, I should say. Handing out the suspensions and stuff. Obviously, you had to do something because all these teams were talking about it. Even though everyone knows it happens in the sports and in football too, like everyone's
Hmm.
doing.
Yep.
It's just someone had to be the poster child of it, and when you're on a roll like Michigan has been, they're going to be coming for you. So
Yep. And the really dumb part about this is next year, or I don't know if it'll be next year, but in the near future, they're going to go to the wireless headset and the quarterback's
I,
helmet. And
yeah,
the company that supplies the headsets for the coach's sideline, I heard they have the technology or they're working on the technology to implement the ear chip, which would
hmm
be more cost effective for the NCAA. And that's the big reason why they haven't done it yet is because yeah, the school like Michigan can afford it, but
hmm
like Ball State, for example, like
who?
or a small MAC school, they probably couldn't
Oh,
afford the whole new system, or like down in the SWAC with Jackson State or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So that's
That's another thing,
but
but we'll talk about that about James Madison and their season right
yeah,
now. How they're
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we'll
a whole
talk
nother
about that on Wednesday.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that one on. We'll put that on Wednesday's show notes. But I've never understood why you couldn't have like Power Five schools. Just because I mean that's where the money is in big college football is the Power Five schools.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
so I don't. I've never understood why because the technology's been around for a while. I mean, even
hmm
back in the '50s or the '60s, Paul Brown in Cleveland, he had a radio headset in his quarterback's helmet. Now when the NFL heard about that, they're like, they don't have that on their sideline. You can't have that. But like, so the technology, even in
What's
its most infant form, has been around since the '50s.
well
So
that too, and if you think about it, that's what the coaches are doing on the sideline anyways, is using
yeah,
pretty much the same technology.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's a little bit different when you have to, get the I don't know, right speakers in the helmets and stuff, but literally coaches are on the sideline. What do you see? What do you see all of them doing? Yelling in their headsets because
yep,
their assistant coach or offensive coordinator is not getting the right guys out there, and you have to burn a timeout, and that's always fun to
yep,
watch when that happens.
yep.
But yeah, like you've been saying, the stuff's there. It's just whether or not how soon they were gonna implement it, and we all
I
know
mean, for the
NCAA
sake of
likes
the
to take their
sport,
sweet
they
time.
need yeah, and it needs to be soon because like you said, Michigan's not the only team doing this. Like, there's
Oh
no
no,
way.
no.
I have a theory on what happened. I don't know if I want to say it out loud or not. I think
I
I've said
think
it
we
to
should
you.
let's hold that one off, and we'll
Yeah,
keep talking
we'll
about
hold
that
that
off
one
the
off.
pod.
We'll
Yeah,
hold that
yeah.
one off once Ryan Day get. Oops, I mean I didn't say that.
Dude, soft. Who calls out an 86-year-old man? I mean, come on. I'm sorry. And our one Ohio State fan listener, that's your coach. calling out an 86-year-old man who can barely speak as it is.
The funny part is, though, our friend that's Ohio State, we love you, Name. We really do.
Yes,
He'll
yes.
text me from time to time. Dude, I cannot stand Ryan Day. Like even their
That
fans
dude
don't like him.
is.
It's hilarious. And so when Harbaugh's suspension is going down last week, he goes, "It's okay. Your guys' janitor could probably outcoach Ryan Day." So
I mean, they're what? If Marcus Freeman and his defensive coordinator can count, that's a loss right there. But
yeah,
anyways, that's yeah.
yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah,
Let's move
we're
on
gonna
here.
get in trouble. Let's get in trouble, or let's not get in trouble. Let's move
Yeah,
on to not college football because we can get in trouble there.
yeah.
So something that was going on this week that I completely forgot about, and not all of them are announced by the time we recorded on Wednesday. But throughout the week, MLB announced their awards. So the main ones now, if you want to go into more of the Gold Gloves, we can. The only ones I wrote down though were the MVP, the Cy Young, and the Manager of the Year. Those are the big three, if you ask me. Um, so the MVP, this was the first time in history actually where both leagues MVP was unanimous. In the
Mm.
AL, it was obviously Shohei Ohtani. In the NL, it was Ronald Acuna Jr. with the Braves. Fun fact here: in the last 10 years, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim have had 5 of the last 10 MVP winners between Shohei and Mike Trout. And you know what they had to show for it?
Uh,
Absolutely nothing.
I think Trout has
I,
what is he? I think he's 0 for 3 in the playoffs, and that is at bats or something. He's 0 for 3,
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
That and it
MLB is
just
a
proves
weird
to you
sport.
though that baseball is different than the rest of the sports
Mm-hmm.
where because like if you go into basketball for example and you have LeBron James on your team or Michael Jordan, we'll say Michael Jordan because we both can't stand LeBron James, so we'll say Michael Jordan. Of course you're a Lakers fan, you probably like LeBron now.
No,
anyways
that's another story. No, keep going.
anyways anyways but you get these freak athletes in the NBA, and you're more than likely going to end up in the playoffs if you have one of the best players in the league. Or in football, you have one of the best quarterbacks. For example, Aaron Rodgers. Look at how bad the Packers are this year, and it's practically now. There's a few differences, but it's practically the same roster that Aaron Rodgers was one game away from taking the playoffs last year, and he brought to the playoffs many times. Or if you look at hockey, not as much because they only play 20 minutes a game. But I mean, to an extent, hockey, you got Toronto having basically one line, and they
Yeah,
can get to the playoffs every year with that one line.
one line,
Uh,
and yeah,
yeah, not a goalie and not a defense. Just one
right.
line is what Toronto has.
Yes.
But then you go to the MLB and you go out west to Anaheim, and you have arguably the best two players in baseball,
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you.
and you can't do anything with them.
Which
And
it's
that's why
sad.
it is sad, but it's why I love baseball because it's
Oh
actually
yeah,
a team sport.
it's probably honestly the only of the 4 main professional sports, the actual true team sports.
Yeah,
Obviously, everyone's on a team, but like you said,
yeah,
2 guys cannot carry a baseball team like they can in basketball.
yep. So it's crazy, and then obviously Shohei's a free agent, and I was listening to Dan Patrick show today, and apparently Shohei, did you hear about this?
I think I did, yeah.
So Shohei apparently has told teams that if it gets leaked out that he met with them, he's gonna hold that against them.
Nice.
And so, and the guys on the Dan Patrick show brought it to this point, and I started laughing. Oh, that would be absolutely hilarious. And so their point was, so let's say he meets with the Dodgers, and somebody from the Cubs finds out that he meets with the Dodgers. How's the Cubs person not supposed to go out and say, "Hey"?
Right?
So
Yeah.
apparently,
Just
so
start throwing names out there. Why not?
yeah. but so Shohei obviously a free agent, one of the most big free agents ever in sports history, I would argue, just
Mm-hmm.
because this is our not even our generation's Babe Ruth because Babe Ruth has been gone for 100 years.
Yeah.
He's a unicorn.
Oh, 100%. There's no
Yeah.
one, I mean, truly no one that we've seen in our lifetime that comes close to this.
No.
A
No.
guy who can play both ways like he does. Well,
I mean,
this year
he's
will be a little bit
pitching at the
different, but
level of yeah, he was pitching at the level of a true two and even debatable ace of a staff,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then he's batting like a true 3-4 hitter
Yeah,
at the same time, and
which
you just don't see that.
no, you
Like
don't.
honestly, the last person that could do that was probably Babe Ruth,
Mm-hmm.
and it's absolutely insane. And I've had the privilege of watching Shohei Ohtani in person a few times, and I was in Milwaukee last season, uh, back in May, I believe it was. The Angels were in Milwaukee, and Shohei just crushed one. It sounded differently off the bat too.
When he
I'm out
hits
in
the
the,
ball, it sounds different than
it
all these
does,
other
like
hitters. It's
I'm in the right field bleachers, and I heard that ball, and I'm like, dang, he got hold of that one.
yeah. That, I
So
mean, if you never, I mean, let's face it. I would say MLB and NHL are the bottom of the list of watching. Not for us. NHL is probably
no, not
top
for
for
us.
us. Yeah,
Yeah,
but if you ever want to just see a greatness, well, wherever he ends up, I would say go watch Otani pitch. Well, he
I
won't be
agree.
pitching this year, but hitting. That, like you said, that dude's a unicorn. He's fun to watch.
Yeah. I don't know if we talked about it all on the podcast. Again, we talk a lot before the podcast. I don't really know what gets recorded and what doesn't get recorded.
Eh,
But Otani, I, for those of you who don't know, he had Tommy John surgery towards UCL, and so he won't be pitching next year. But he will be batting, which does impact his free agency a little bit. I still think he'll get paid a ridiculous amount of money, and I usually frown up. I mean, I understand why these players get this money, but
mm-hmm.
this would be one of the few times where I'm like, that guy got underpaid
Yeah,
just because
yeah.
you're signing two players in one, and
Two play.
there's
Yeah,
no there's no number that's really good enough for Shohei Ohtani.
right. Even as
Um,
a batter, I mean,
yeah,
he's gonna be probably, obviously he's DHing, but he'll
yeah,
be 3 or 4 on any
yep,
team.
yep. So it'll be interesting to see where he signs. Here in the next couple weeks, we'll probably do a MLB podcast episode on free agency and stuff like that. Once we get closer to the winter meetings, I have some other. Obviously, I have Alex on that one, and I have a cousin that actually works for the Brewers now, not in the front office or anything like that. He is one of the
Brew crew.
on field. Yeah, he's on the Brew Crew, which is basically like the people who dance on top of the dugouts and ball boy on the side. So he's like he has
Yeah, you
absolutely
do.
no say in the Brewers. But uh, I'm gonna have him join the podcast when we get closer to that. He's a big baseball guy, very smart. So I think it'll be a lot of fun once we get him on here too.
I've seen him make
And
a
we'll get
play
him
at
on
third.
here, huh?
So I've seen him make a play on the third base side, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. He actually did. He did make a nice play, on I think it was third base, this year. He sent me the video when it happened. I'm pretty sure I forwarded it to you.
Yeah, that's how I found
Um,
it.
yeah. But so once we get closer, I said to the winter meetings, we'll probably have a podcast episode on free agency, different trades going on, and
hmm
also at the winter meetings this year, baseball switched to the lottery system for the draft, and I believe that selection is going to go on for during the winter meetings too.
Oh, I
So
don't think I
we'll
knew that.
yeah, so they're now lottery, so there's
Mm.
technically a chance the Tigers get the first pick.
Right.
I don't know what the number
Batman's not
is,
the
but
commissioner, so there is a good chance they'll get the number 1 pick.
why we gotta bring Bettman into this? We're not even talking hockey right now.
I know. Well, you brought up the lottery, and you know how we both feel about the lottery for hockey and how Batman
Yeah.
hates the Red Wings.
Yep.
He won't ever say it, but we all know it's true as a
Yep.
true Red Wings fans.
Yep. Uh, anyways,
Yeah, back to
so
the
like we said,
awards.
back to the awards. Like we said, Otani got the AL MVP. Acuna Jr. got the NL MVP. Acuna this season hit 41 home runs with a 337 batting average and 106 RBIs with 73 stolen bases. So which
I'm sorry, but all that's crazy.
yeah,
And the time of either you're hitting a home run or striking out is basically what you're
yeah.
asking your batters to do. A dude swipes, what'd you say, 73 bases?
Now, yeah. Now the purists out there are gonna be like, well, they made the bases bigger.
That
But
doesn't
they
matter.
it does matter to an extent. But
Oh,
like
what,
but
10%?
like but like you said, it's all about the three true outcome. You either hit a home
Mhm.
run, you take a walk, or you strike out. Like that's all baseball
Mhm.
is. It's
Yeah.
refreshing to see this guy. Now, I understand batting average isn't the end all be all stat it used to be.
Right.
But I still personally am a fan of the batting average stat
Mhm.
because I like a guy that can hit the ball and play and get on base.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, obviously, home runs are fun to watch, but like I'd
Oh yeah.
rather watch the guy who can, you got runners on second and third with one out. I don't want obviously a 3-run trout to be nice there, but like why can't just hit like a line drive in the gap and
Yeah.
or
Move the runners up.
move the
I mean,
runners.
yeah. Yeah.
So uh, it's
It was
nice to
nice to
see. Now,
see. Yes. Sorry. I
now
didn't mean to
again,
interrupt, but it's
Acuna
nice to
got
see
40 home
the
runs.
steals. Yeah.
Yeah. But excuse me, it was a lot of steals in baseball this year.
Mhm.
Speaking of, so this is totally off topic here,
Oh, I
and
love
I think
this
I sent,
already.
yeah, I think I sent this to you on Instagram about Akil Badu.
I don't think I
Did I
saw
send you
that.
that?
Let me see.
So there's only one player in baseball right now with a minimum of 500 at bats who's never been hit by a pitch, and that's Akil Badu.
He did
That's
some.
the
I
most
just noticed
rant.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a. I mean, one of those stats that exist but don't really matter. That's what that
Oh,
is.
right. Yeah. But it's
But
cool that
like,
it's a tiger.
it's cool that it exists, and it's a
Yeah.
tiger. So,
Yeah.
but we were talking about Acuna and his stats, and that's what triggered that one. There's, like we said the other day, there's gonna be a lot of rabbit trails with this. We
Hey.
do have an
Was
agenda on the side of our street on our pages here on what we're talking
yeah.
about, and we do somewhat stay on track.
We'll get to him
But
eventually.
we'll get to them eventually. And it's a good thing we switched programs here because we're at 49 minutes and we still got and basically the Cy Young, the managers, and then another topic. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing that we switched because the one that we were using before, we had two
Yeah.
hours. So
Yeah.
this one, I think it's 2 hours for free, but we're gonna upgrade it, so it's okay. Because I think this one is more reasonable price too. Anyways,
Oh, yeah. Off the pod
um,
stuff. They don't need to know about
yeah,
that.
no. So Acuna Jr. winning the NL MVP, both of them unanimous, and with those numbers, you can't argue with that at all. And then the AL Cy Young went to Garrett Cole, who went 15-4 this year with a 2.63 ERA and a WHIP, which is walks and hits per inning pitch, under 1.98. So that means he allowed one base runner an inning. So that's pretty deserving if you ask me.
Even though he's a Yankee,
And
yes.
especially well, but again, it's actually more impressive with the Yankee because
Yeah. Oh, they were
Yankee Stadium is, there's a little league ballpark across the street from my house right now. That's
probably about the same dimensions as Yankee Stadium.
exactly. And
Let's
then you
be
got
honest.
Fenway, and you got
Uh,
Fenway. You got Pesky's pole. Now I understand once you
Mm-hmm.
get away from Pesky's pole, it gets deep. But even the
Eh,
Green Monster's not that far out there.
no.
And then Baltimore, I think they moved the fences back in Baltimore actually.
Yeah, yeah, and then didn't they lower the wall in left field so there's more home runs?
Yeah.
Because that wall
So
was that wall was pretty tall, and I think they lowered
yeah,
it and, like you said, brought them in. At least the left field, I think they brought it in.
yeah. So the AL East is notorious for home runs and a lot of them. So it's kind of impressive to see those numbers actually from a Yankees pitcher. Now, like you said, you Yankees. Uh, we are very opinionated sports fans too. We don't like who we like,
Yeah, yeah, we
or we don't
we
like who
probably
we don't
should.
like, and we're not a.
Do
No,
you think we should try
because
to get better?
no, I mean no, because
Okay. Hey,
Yankees fans
it's your
don't even
problem.
like the Yankees.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
You know
Cowboys.
exactly. Like our Packers slander, we probably should be a little more careful of that because the whole country doesn't hate the Packers, but like the
Yeah,
whole
they're
country
they're
hates the
kind of.
Yankees.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
You know.
And we didn't
Anyways,
slant around the Packers. We just
not yet
hope
today.
they keep their defensive coordinator. That's all.
And then in the National League was Blake Snell. He finished the year with San Diego with a 14-9 record and a 2.25 ERA. Struck out 234 batters. So another deserving candidate there. Um, Blake Snell has now won the Cy Young in both the American League and the National League. So that's a fun little fact there with him. Uh, and Garrett Cole, he struggled uh, early on in his career with Pittsburgh, and then he got traded to Houston at some point. And say what you want about Houston and the trash can and whatnot, but they do know how to get the best out of their players. Uh, I mean, you look at Garrett Cole, for example. I mean, he wasn't terrible when he got traded there, but it's just night and day difference how much better he's gotten since Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And then even Justin Verlander, his career resurrected in Houston. So Houston's doing something right with the pitching. Speaking of Houston, by the way, we didn't talk about this on the podcast. Dusty Baker, their manager, retired at the end of the season. So
Yeah,
they'll
I
need a
forgot
new
about that.
manager there. A couple other manager notes here, real quick. Craig Counsell with the Brewers signed with the Cubs. I'm sorry for all you Brewers fans out there, and I'm sorry for all the texts I sent and laughter. Uh, I'm a jerk.
Eh,
And then to replace him, the Brewers hired their bench coach Pat Murphy, which I'm okay with that hire. I actually like the Brewers; they're my second favorite team. Um, keep it in the family. There's if it's not broke, don't fix it type thing. So hopefully they can keep it rolling there in Milwaukee. Uh, Small market team. I always root for the small market teams because I'm tired of seeing the Yankees and the Red Sox win and the Dodgers. So I always root for the small market team. Um, so like I said, Blake Snell with the NL Cy Young and Garrett Cole Cy Young. Do you have any comments for either one of those guys?
uh, sorry, I have some audio issues on my end. About Garrett
No, you're
Cole
good.
and who? Blake Snell?
Blake Snell. Yeah,
Nope,
Blake
no,
Snell.
no comments. Yeah.
All
One
right.
thing about and another, it's kind of ties into the manager part of this. Um, the manager of the, I mean, it's the manager of the year award, not a big deal. But what's impressive is what um Brandon Hyde of the Baltimore Orioles did to turn that team around.
Yep. Yep. And they have a lot of young players in that system too that
I'm
have yet to make
actually
it.
kind of excited to watch them the
Yeah.
next couple of years.
Now Baltimore was that one. Now that we're both Tiger fans, and Baltimore was that one team that we always ran into in the playoffs when the Tigers were in the playoffs every year. And for whatever reason, we'd always run into the three teams that we always played were Baltimore, New York, and the Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's who we always played. Like I don't remember. I don't know why, but honestly, I don't remember playing anybody else in the American League besides those three teams. I
I
think we had
no,
Texas once or twice, but like outside of
yeah,
that, that's who we played. I've been in that one series with Boston too, but for the most part, it was always Baltimore, Oakland, and New York.
Yeah. Yep.
And we could beat New York, like we could beat
Yep.
the Yankees. We had no problems with Oakland, but we had issues with
Whatever
Baltimore.
reason,
Yeah, for
you
whatever
probably
reason,
couldn't
they
name
just
one Baltimore guy on the team, could you, back then?
Chris Davis.
Oh, Crush Davis, yeah. He was
Yeah.
doing roids, but that's another story.
Well, you asked me to name a player, not if he was doing steroids or not.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm surprised you didn't go with the former Tiger, Delman Young, who sadly ended our postseason multiple times with the
Yep.
Orioles.
And I think this is in the time frame too. They had Ubaldo Jimenez with the Orioles at one point.
Oh,
I
I
think he was,
forgot he was there. Yeah,
yeah.
the All-Star from the
Uh,
Rockies.
yep. Anyways, like Alex said, the manager of the year for the AL was Brandon Hyde with Baltimore. No complaints here off the top of my
Not one.
head. Maybe, maybe you could give it to the Texas guy because Texas was abysmal last year, and they go out and win the World Series this
Do
year.
we have to bring that guy up? His team killed us twice in the playoffs, in the World Series. Or no, sorry, the one World Series. Do you know
Well,
who it is?
who's their man? Who's their manager right now? I can't think
Bruce
of the guy's
Bochy.
name. Bucci, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, from San
yeah.
Francisco in his repeat.
I was thinking about the last guy. Like I could picture the last guy in my head, but
I,
I
I
forgot about
couldn't tell you the
Bochy.
last guy.
Like I could see his face. I just couldn't think of his name.
Mhm.
So
But
like
yeah,
Bochy would have been a good option, just because again, Texas has been
yeah,
on the downward or the down end the last couple of years, and then all of a sudden you come out of nowhere and win the World Series. Um, that's pretty much it though. Like Minnesota, Rocco, like yeah, he won the division, but
division.
you didn't need. Yeah, that division was a joke. Um, the AL East, that's where Brandon Hyde came from. There's really nobody else that stands out to me. You
Mm-mm.
got the AL West, the and again the Bochy. Uh, so, and then in the National League, you got Skip Shoemaker with Miami winning it. That's another good choice. Another team that historically last few years has struggled a little bit, and then coming back this year making the playoffs. So another good pick. Uh, like I said a few minutes ago, I'm not like a diehard Brewers fan, but I am a Brewers fan. They're my second team. I think Craig Counsell should have gotten votes. No, he probably did. That would have been my pick, but again, I'm a little bit biased here. But that's really the only other name that I think should have gotten any consideration for the NL Manager of the Year. But both Brandon Hyde and Skip Shoemaker are very deserving of this award. We're not saying
Yes,
they're not. We're just
correct.
saying other managers that also should be in consideration for these awards. I with all these awards, really, all six of them that we talked about, all six people are very deserving of these awards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like one of those things where, well, they won it, but it really should have been this guy.
Right.
No, like I
The
said,
only
if
one, the only one, and I would have to look at his stats more. Was actually Acuna's teammate in Atlanta. I don't know if he got any votes. I'm guessing it was Matt Olson.
so Acuna won it unanimously, so I think he got all the first place
Oh, that's right.
votes.
You did say that. My bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
but still,
So yeah, but again, if you're hitting 40 bombs and getting 70 steals,
yeah, that's hard to beat.
yeah. So very deserving on all ends there. And then finally tonight, the last thing we're going to talk about here after an hour of recording,
Has it
is
really
I'm wearing
been
the
an
hat for
hour?
this one too. Yeah, it's for at 59 minutes right now.
Man, all right. Wow,
Yeah,
I did not see that coming.
no, like, sorry guys,
I'm
these
enjoying.
podcasts
Yeah,
are gonna be a
sorry.
lot longer.
Yeah. Hey,
You guys,
I'm enjoying this. So
yeah, I am too. But when I did this by myself, I struggled to get 20 minutes podcast here. But now with Alex here and these rabbit trails that we go down talking about one thing and then somehow getting somewhere completely different, staying on track though at the same time. It's
Hey,
impressive.
let's just say this. We'll get back to what we first started talking about after we go on these rabbit trails, and that's
Yes,
just
we'll get
how
there.
our conversation has always been. You know.
Yeah, and like I said, Thursday or Wednesday or yeah, Thursday afternoon on that podcast, we're both '90s movies people, so it hasn't happened yet. Besides him going back to his Ducks jerseys today, I didn't realize we were doing hockey jerseys again for this one. I'm sorry. I got my
Yeah.
Red Wing shirt on, so it's close to hockey
Yeah.
jersey.
Honestly,
But
yeah.
But like I said, there's gonna be a lot of '90s movies references. Uh, so these podcasts are probably gonna be on the longer end of things, and that's cool. Um, maybe not
Hope
for you
you
guys
guys
listening.
are.
You guys,
I say,
yeah,
hopefully they're around for all of it, but
you don't have to listen to this in one sitting. Okay, you can come back to us, go out for
yeah.
a little nice drive, put us on. That's all we ask. But anyways, finally tonight, uh, MLB the owners unanimously vote to allow the Oakland A's to move to Las Vegas. Uh, the worst kept secret in sports that this was going to happen.
Or that Oakland can hold a
Um,
professional team anymore.
yeah, it's unfortunately what's best for everybody. I believe the Coliseum is a dump, and
Yeah.
Oakland didn't really want to work with Major League Baseball to build a new stadium, and yeah, so this was inevitable. It sucks because I mean, just like Moneyball, for example. If you watch that movie and you watch the
Great.
clips, when that team's rolling, they show up.
Do
And
you know? Do they still have the winning record right now, or tied, whatever it was, 20 in a row, 19 in a row?
didn't somebody like come close to it last couple years? I think the White
Yeah, but
Sox.
they didn't beat it though, did they?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't think they did. I think they still hold
I
it,
yeah.
but I could
Either
be
way,
wrong. But it's still, yeah.
when Oakland baseball was playing good baseball, those fans went out there and supported them.
Oof, they sure
And
did.
yeah, that they had that place rocking. Now the place is a dump. It always has been. Always will be a dump.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a sad day for Oakland fans. Um, we've been very fortunate with our Detroit teams that we haven't seen them move. And
Especially the Lions. Let's be honest.
I don't think the Lions would ever move though.
No, no.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
even when they're
You
bad,
think of, yeah, say you think of bad teams like the A's recently, and that they usually end up moving because new
yeah.
market, they get money from everyone. The Lions have
But
been
like,
bad for as long as I
yeah,
can remember.
but the Lions always had crowds. Like Lions
Yeah,
fans always,
yeah,
and we'd always buy Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford jerseys, and which is why a lot of people like stop buying those jerseys. It won't fix anything. Like they'll just put the same product out there. Uh, but here we are now with actually a team to be proud of wearing our Stafford jerseys. So,
yep. And sidebar: did you see what Stafford said about the Lions?
no,
And at least the fan base, it wasn't anything about him. I should say he just wishes he could have brought the championship to them, and he still loves the city,
yeah.
still loves the
Well, I mean,
Lions.
he did a lot for the community
Oh,
when he
he
was
sure
speaking,
did.
and he was one of my favorite players. I wish that things worked out better with him. But obviously that wasn't meant to be. Um,
Do you still have his
and
shirt?
I do. Yeah. So
Yes.
if you guys, the shirt that he's talking about, this is we're talking about the A's. We were talking about Matthew Stafford.
Hey, like I said, we'll get back on track here. All these rabbit trails. That's just two guys having a conversation. You
Yeah.
say something, it pops in my memory. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna bring
Yep.
it up. I'm sorry.
Yep. No,
This is
I'm
what it's
don't
gonna be
apologize.
from
This is
now on.
awesome. This is awesome.
I just
So if you
thinking
guys
Stafford.
remember, yep,
I remember
Matthew
you
Stafford.
telling me you got it.
Yeah, there's this commercial, and I'll post it on the YouTube or on the Facebook page. Excuse me, just so you guys can watch it. And so basically, the premise of the commercial is Matthew Stafford had a really good game on Sunday afternoon, and he's a shoe in to win quarterback or player of the week or whatever. So he goes out, treats himself to a nice day, gets a spray paint shirt with his face on it. He goes to a nice restaurant, gets a nice lobster bit dinner, and he goes, "Hey, can I get a bib for my lobster? It's my new shirt." And it's got Matthew Stafford's face on it. And apparently, the guy in the commercial who made the shirt was a real T-shirt artist, and he went out and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna make a killing off of this shirt. So he went online and sold the shirt to morons like me who decided this is a great shirt. I want this shirt.
I
Uh,
never knew that it was an actual dude that
yeah, it
obviously
was an
you could
actual
tell it was
dude.
that, but I didn't know
Yeah,
that part.
yeah. And then the commercial ends with Matthew Stafford sitting down to watch Monday Night Football, and Aaron Rodgers does what Aaron Rodgers does and breaks the Lions' heart
I
and
just
has the game
remember
of the week.
it was, like you said, not too long after that commercial, I think you sent me a picture of it, or
Oh yeah,
I think you sent me a picture, and the caption was, "You like my new shirt."
yeah,
Literally what he said, but you were asking me about your shirt, and
yep.
every time I think of Stafford, I can always think from what you said, "You like my shirt? It's my new shirt." Uh,
So yeah,
Back
good
to the
times.
A's.
But back to the A's.
Yes,
So
going
like
to
we
Vegas.
said, they're going to Vegas. There was a report. I don't know if it's reports, but there was a poll going around on social media today. What should the Vegas team name be? It should be the Athletics.
Yes.
Uh, that's what it
Just
should
like
be.
just like the Raiders in football when they
Did you
moved
know?
from
Yeah. Did you know this is like the fourth or fifth time the Athletics franchise has moved?
I I wanna say I
So
saw something like I didn't realize it
so
was that many times, but I
yeah. So
thought I
they
saw
started
something
when
about
they started. They were called the Philadelphia Athletics. That was their first team.
okay.
And then after some time in Philadelphia, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they moved to Kansas City, and they were the Kansas City Athletics for some time. And then from Kansas City, there might have been another stop between, but for sure after Kansas City, they went to Oakland, and now Oakland to Vegas. So at least four. And I
Mhm.
want to say there was a fifth, but I can't think of where it was off the top of my head. But there's this podcast I listened to. I'm actually gonna reach out to this guy. Really interesting baseball fella. He studies the history of baseball, and the episode was about the history of the athletics organization and how many moves they had. I think it was the Philadelphia branch, and it was really interesting. But a franchise that moves that much is just crazy. I mean, moving has died down a lot the last 20 years or so in sports. It used to be, especially in the 50s and the 60s, teams moved all
Yeah.
the time.
Yes.
Obviously, we were both in our early 30s, so we were not around
Mm-mm.
when these teams were moving on in the 50s, contrary to popular belief. But so, but now the last 10, 15 years or so, 20 years, I mean, teams move obviously, but not like they used to. So it is sad though for the fans of Oakland. Um, and unfortunately, I don't think they'll ever get baseball back in Oakland or any sport for the matter. This is the third sport
Yeah.
they've lost in the last 5 years.
Mhm.
So basically, the teams don't move unless if Oakland's involved, and they're moving out of Oakland. Is basically
Yeah.
what this comes down to.
Yeah.
So after a minute, 10 minutes, or an hour, 10 minutes, excuse me, we have run through all of our list here. Uh, I don't know if 2 times a week is going to be the norm, but with how much stuff happened the last couple of days,
Yeah. I
I was
think I
actually driving.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can go ahead. It's your show.
I was driving home today from basketball practice. I'm coaching a basketball team now, and I'm like, and I was at practice when the Joe Burrow thing uh, got announced, and I screenshot it and I texted it to you. And I was like driving home, and I'm like, I kind of want to do an emergency podcast on this. I almost pulled up my
Mhm.
phone and started recording just to do a quick 5 minute podcast, but I didn't want to. I'm like, I have a co-host now. I can't just do that, so I better
Eh, you
not.
can
And
do
then you
whatever you
texted me
want, man.
like, no, but like I think this will be a lot better with you in
Yeah.
it.
I just think I'll say this. If there's a lot of news stuff that's happened, like from when we recorded to I guess now when we're recording, which has been what span of 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff that happened. Then yeah, we're probably gonna throw out another podcast, or
yeah,
we'll figure it out. But yeah,
yeah.
I think there's just too much not to talk about, and for us to go into I guess it'd
Next
be
week
what
without.
next week trying to do our
Yeah,
NFL picks that usually take us a little bit on top of all this other information that
yeah,
we just had to get this podcast out. I felt like.
yeah. So thank you guys so much for checking this out. Um, we'll be back next week, assuming nothing else happens.
Right, yeah.
Um,
We could see, I don't know, tomorrow's what, Saturday, so some
Tomorrow's
college
Saturday,
football.
so you know, like let's say Washington loses, which is a real possibility.
Mhm.
Let's say I think Georgia's playing somebody decent too.
I think they're
I think
playing
they're playing
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a big
So
shakeup in the college sports and
we might be back here tomorrow.
yeah, hey, you never know.
We don't
There could be
You never know
news.
in the world of sports.
Yep.
But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Sorry it was a little bit on the longer side. But like we said, that's probably gonna happen more often than not just because of our rabbit trails. We will try to get better on that. This is literally our second podcast together. We're still trying to
That's so
figure
much
out how
fun.
all this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Um, but thank you guys so much for checking this out. Be sure to like us on Facebook. If you are on the YouTube channel, uh, please drop a comment. Say something that you liked or didn't like about the show, preferably like. We are sensitive souls.
Yes, very
Um,
sensitive.
it's very sensitive souls. Uh, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. That would help a lot. Be sure to tell your friends about us. Uh, Help the word spread. I think we have something really special going on here. And if you guys are tired of the reason I started Hardball Sports is because I enjoy sports more than I probably should. And but you turn on ESPN and Fox and all the other big networks, and eventually, after watching for an hour, you're probably gonna have some political thing in there. I turned on ESPN, not CNN. You know,
Yeah. I want to hear about
so
sports.
yeah.
I don't care
So if
about
you
politics and sports. That's not
yeah,
my
we're
thing.
not. If you take a knee during the anthem, we're not going to talk about it because that had
Right.
nothing to do with the game on the field. If you said you voted for Trump, we're not going to talk about it because
Right.
I don't give a crap who you voted for.
Yeah.
Now we all have our own political views, and I understand that.
Mhm.
But when I'm watching a game, I don't care about your political views. I
I'm there
care
to
about
enjoy the game.
yeah.
That's why I'm
I
turning it on.
yes. I care if you can catch the ball or not, or do whatever sport you're playing. Like that's why I watch sports, not to be part of the world, but to escape from the world for a couple hours. Like that's what sports are to me. And all this political stuff has ruined sports. So that's why I started Hardball Sports because I was tired of it, and I just wanted something
Mm.
out there for people who were tired of it too. Just to come on, let's talk sports, and we're gonna leave the politics out of it. We're gonna talk strictly sports,
And
and
movies.
I've and yeah, and sports movies, which
Yeah.
we will do a ranking on that. But again, so if you guys are just tired of all of the politics and sports, this is the place to be. Um, and I promise we will never, as long as I'm part of this, it'll never be political. I refuse to put politics anywhere. I
Yep.
don't even on my personal Facebook page. I don't put anything political.
Yep. No,
So
no one cares who you voted for.
no, no.
It's just like
So
Instagram and food. I don't care what you ate that night. It doesn't matter how pretty
yeah,
that picture is.
yeah. So be sure to like I said, if you're tired of all the politics and sports, this is the place for you. If your friends are like, man, I just wish I could listen to a podcast that's just sports. Like I don't again, we don't care about the extra stuff. Send them here. This is where they need to be. You know, just two guys and we're clean. Like we're not gonna swear, so your kids can listen to us if you're in the car with your kids. Like it's just two guys enjoying life, talking sports. Like you know. sit back, have a drink with us. I don't drink that much. He might have a little bit too much here and there.
Hey, there's no
But
weddings around, so
there's no weddings right now, so he's okay.
another story
We're
for the podcast.
we won't go there right now.
No.
But thank you guys so much for checking us out. Like I said, be sure to tell your friends and family about us, and like us on Facebook, leave us reviews, and all that jazz. It'd be really helpful for us. With all that being said, after an hour and 15 minutes, I think we can finally say goodbye to you guys. And assuming nothing else happens, we will talk to you guys on Thursday. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week.